Hello, Mr. Peterson here again with some more physical science concepts. Today we're going to be talking about friction, which friction is the force that opposes motion. And that word opposes means that it goes against. So if we look at this example over here, I have motion which is going in this direction to the right, but friction is pushing this way to the left. So it's actually going against the force or the motion that the object is going into. Now, why does friction happen? Well, friction is caused by all the hills and valleys on every surface. Every surface, regardless of what it has different hills and valleys. Some are microscopic, some are bigger, some are different shapes, sizes, things like that. So if we look at this example here of this block on a table, when we zoom in right here, we can see the hills and valleys. And when they actually start to touch or interact, that's what slows down the motion of the object, because it's actually they're catching each other and slowing down the motion of that object. Now with friction, there are four different types of friction. The first, there's static friction. Now the important thing to remember about static friction is there is no motion. So when I have something sitting there, static friction is taking place. It's also very similar to balanced forces because there's no motion in balanced forces. So static friction holds things in place. Sliding friction, it happens when there's a sliding motion or things that are just sliding against each other. Kind of like when your hands, when you go like this, you're creating sliding friction. The third kind is rolling friction. Rolling friction is when you have a rolling motion or something with wheels that's turning over itself and it's hitting that. The reason that it's different than sliding is that rolling motion. The last is fluid friction, and we call that fluid friction because it has to do with the difference between fluids. And in this case, we consider fluids any gas or liquid. So you can have fluid friction when you're jumping out of an airplane. You can have fluid friction when you're swimming in a pool. It does not matter. Now, I've numbered some of these. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Those go in order of strongest to weakest friction. So static friction is the strongest type. It takes the most force to overcome static friction to get something moving. Then after that, sliding friction. I think of when a car is going, what do we do when we want to slow a car down? We hit the brakes. When we hit the brakes, the wheels start going slower. When we really want to stop, we slam on the brakes, the wheels stop completely, and we slide, which slows us down faster than if we were to just put the car in neutral. The other kind, so that covers rolling and sliding. The last kind is fluid friction, which, yes, it can be a very large force, but it's most of the time the smallest amount of friction possible. Okay. The last thing we talk about are lubricants, and lubricants reduce friction. So if I look at these three pictures here, and as I increase the amount of lubricants in the actual in between the two surfaces, they start to move farther and farther apart, which makes the hills and valleys touch less and less. And as they touch less and less, that makes sure that we have less friction. So what are some ways that we can reduce friction? Well, we can use lubricants. That's one way. The other way is what we talked about earlier. We can change the type of friction. And if we change friction from, say, rolling to sliding, we can increase friction, or if we go from sliding to rolling, then we can decrease friction. So those are two ways we can decrease friction. I want to also take some time to point out the website. So on the website, we have lots of things. We have some vocab review games, we have a challenge board, we have a what is friction, and we have some correctives worksheets. I want to challenge you to go ahead and do those things to make sure that you really understand friction. Hope this video helps you, and good luck.